Evelyn, good morning and welcome.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
I'm so thrilled that you are here. And since we've already had a question come in live, I've got a bunch of questions from before, but I'm going to go with live because that's what I'm going to do. When my son wakes up around 4 a.m., sometimes he says different words with no sense. And the more that he feels awake, the louder he gets. I've tried to tell him to be quiet many times and show him his dad and his sister sleeping so he can grasp the idea that they are sleeping. What can I do to teach him the meaning of quiet or silence?
Well, I guess the main question here is really what type of therapy is he getting and how, is he learning? Like if he is getting in an ABA program, there is a voice volume practice that you can go through. First thing is you have to receptively play a sound, and it can be anything, and ask him to identify like what is quiet and then what is loud. And then you can play a game of matching where you say something and he has to match it in the same voice, and then have him label it so that he knows what quiet and loud is. And then from there, you can like have him say something, but tell him like, say it in a quiet voice, say it in a loud voice, and give him some control over being loud or quiet. And you never know with this kind of behavior, how it's been reinforced too, because if it's been going on for a long time, he might know that if he's loud, someone comes in, to see him. And when he's quiet, nobody comes in. And so it can also have that behavioral component also, where maybe this is the way he communicates to you, how to get you to come in the room. And so then that would be another skill that you could teach him, is that when he wakes up, you can redirect him. So maybe while he's asleep at night, you set out some toys for him to play so that when he wakes up, he has something to do. And that would be a whole practice of teaching him to wake up and how to get access. Or if you know that when he wakes up, he wants water or something to drink, you would have it all placed in there for him the night before so that he can get access to those things on his own in a safe manner and, within his room or something. And then, of course, there's also the act of teaching him how to come get you instead of waking everybody up, how to come and tap on you, like when you're asleep, and wait for you to respond and not just yell out, some kind of babbling. Yeah. So it's not just like one little skill of teaching, him to be quiet or not. It could be multiple on many levels on why he's doing this, how he's doing it, and does he have the replacement behaviors to, take care of it if he is doing it for a certain purpose.
And I think, you've touched on something that is part of what confuses a lot of us as caregivers. And we didn't even say what you do and what your job title is and where you work. So maybe we should take a second and talk about that. And I will share what my credentials are, which are this long. But what is your job title? What do you do? Where do you work?
Let me just say you have the mom credential, and that counts for a lot.
Okay,
that's on the job learning.
It certainly is. I've always said if there was a CLEP test for credits for a parent of an individual on the autism spectrum, I want to test out of the college. I want to get the degree with just the CLEP credits. Okay,
exactly.
But for you, what's your daily wheelie?
So I am a BCBA, but I've been doing this a lot longer. I predate. My experience predates the BCBA. So I've been doing this almost 30 years now, and came into it kind of just accidentally. But I don't know what my current title is. My current title, I think, is Senior Director of Clinical Systems at CARD, at the Center for Autism and Related Disorders. But my job for the last 10 years has been the Clinical Director at CARD. And what that means is when supervisors, or if there's a problem behavior or just some skill that, they're wanting to teach and they don't know how, I help the supervisors or the parents will come to me and say, hey, there's this thing we're trying to work on, and we've tried all these ways, what can we do? So half my job is still pretty much consulting with families across the board, so across the country, and on different levels. And then I also am in charge of our skills curriculum, which is a curriculum that is, it's not It's made for people with autism, but it really is with the idea that, hey, this is everything you need. If you wanted to teach a child and the child was able to learn everything in the skills curriculum, they would be able to function independently. And
there we go.
so,
So I thank Evelyn for taking the time to be with us. And as I'm a parent, if it wasn't apparent to you, I am a parent of an individual who was diagnosed with autism at 2.5. And I am always thrilled to be here because what we went through, you know, I got very lucky and I'm aware of it. And I try to be in that grateful space of awareness where my goal here always is to give back. I have karmic debt to pay down. Let's put it that way. That I really lucked out that my son, I literally tripped across a family who was a card family when I was having to decide what to do. And it opened up my life and my world to the possibilities of what our kids on the spectrum could do. And we started our really intensive quality ABA program with CARD. And, you know, I'm very fond of saying here because it's the truth, we got our son back. That is what happened. And that I'm very lucky that now my child is 17. And, you know, yesterday, normally he's about to be, he is an emerging senior. And normally we would have spent this summer looking at colleges. How amazing is that? So we were having to virtually tour colleges yesterday. And because that's the world that we live in. And we were laughing at some of the virtual tours, just laughing ourselves sideways and picking things out in the pictures. Like I couldn't believe some of it, because I think these colleges threw these things up with this much notice, you know. But in one place they showed the student lounge and it was all boarded up with plywood. And we just laughed and laughed. And I, at least 3 times yesterday when I was talking to parents, I said, you know, if somebody had told me when he was 3 that my biggest concern as he's entering his senior year is a pandemic and that he's fine and social and whatever, I would have wept. It would have driven me to my knees and I would have wept with joy. And so that's the space from which I'm coming. I want you guys to be lucky as I am to find what you need and what your kiddos need. And we always say here that we're here for the whole autism community. If you're on the spectrum and you are writing in, of course, it starts with you, right? But we also, you know, want to support everybody who loves those individuals. So that's what I'm here for. Okay, so our parent that was talking about the sleep issue when he wakes up at 4 o'clock in the morning, she wanted us to know that her son is 7 and functionally verbal and that they are starting ABA services in September. Woo! And that is going to rock your world. And you know, make sure that you're talking with your ABA company about all the behaviors like these kinds of things so that they can be looking at them, right, Evelyn?
Yes, definitely. And realize there might be a little lag time depending on who the child is. Sometimes what you need to do at the beginning is just work on kind of basic compliance and kind of how the basic learning goes before you work on an abstract concept such as loud and quiet. Okay, yeah. Sometimes you have to go through some concrete steps so he starts to figure out what the learning is, how to learn things. And it might require really at the object level where it's very concrete information first before you can actually teach a concept or an abstract concept like volume.
And she says when he comes to our bed, he still vocalizes words, but he whispers them. And that's improvement, right? And I know I started to say something else before. I've talked all the way around in a circle. Can you tell I'm discombobulated this morning? But I want to address this first and then I'll go back to that. So it's so important as a parent to know, what is it we're working on? Are we working on him not getting out of bed, or are we working on him whispering when he gets out of bed? Right? Like, because those are 2 entirely different things, and you can be working on both of them to some extent, but what's the most important, right? So if he's already whispering when he comes to your bed, and that's really what you're working on, then that's what you would reinforce, right, Evelyn?
Yeah, and I actually, with that additional information, I can give you an idea.
Okay.
So he probably whispers because you whisper when you're talking to him in your bed. Mm-hmm. He's just copying you. So if you are getting up to tell him to be quiet in his room, when you walk in his room, you actually should be whispering to him in his room. And there's a good chance he's just going to imitate you because he's probably learned that behavior when he's coming to wake you up in your bed. And so there's a chance that if you go to him and only talk to a whisper in his room in the early morning, he might just start doing it because he's imitating you and for no other reason. So that's a really great talent to have.
There you go. There you go. Isn't that wonderful? Because being able to imitate is like the base skill that you need to have to be able to do everything else, yep. Which is really super cool. So the thing that I started to say, which led me down the path of why we're here, is that as parents, a lot of times we'll be trying to do something and we don't understand why it's not working. And the thing that you said, Evelyn, that I said, that's the thing I want to discuss, is you said there's so many different skills here. And it could be so many different things. And that's what we need to recognize as parents, is that in every single moment that we are all here, there's a lot going on. And that since our kids can't tell us all the things that are going on, that's why we want to work with really good ABA professionals who can help us to identify that.
Hey, thanks for watching Autism Live. To subscribe, click here. And if you'd like to check out some more of our videos, click here.